What got you started in the car business?
Well, it's a fun story, but the reality is that I was born by my mother's testimony making car sounds.
No way.
I just loved cars from the time I was a little infant.
Welcome to the Todd Boffo Show. I got a special guest for you today. I am joined by Eric Freeman, and he is a successful entrepreneur, founder of the Freeman Motor Company. It's a luxury car dealership based in Portland. Got the Freeman on your shirt there, represented well. But over 33 years of experience in the automotive industry, Eric's built a reputation for excellence, not just in high quality, but also in customer experience, and sets the new standard for how to treat people. I guess you've been doing it 33 years. You're doing something right. His passion for cars is matched by his passion for people. Eric believes in his strong relationships are the real drivers of success, and it shows the way he goes above and beyond for clients. Well, we're just grateful to have him on the show today. Eric, thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
So,
my pleasure.
Oh man. So what got you started in the car business?
Well, it's a fun story, but the reality is that I was born by my mother's testimony making car sounds.
No way.
I just loved cars from the time I was a little infant. And so you fast forward and I'm 16 years old. I love cars. My school bus driver said, "Hey, I saw you driving this 1960 Rambler American around the other day. I had that same car in a 59 that's been sitting in my barn for 10 years. You want to buy it?" And I'm thinking, of course I want to buy it, but I got to talk my dad into it, right? That's my hurdle.
Gotcha.
So I go home and it takes me about 2 weeks to talk my dad into allowing me to at least even go look at it. And once I talked him into it, he said, "Look, Eric, I want to be really clear with you. If we buy this car, I'm going to loan you the money. I'm not buying you a car and you'll need to pay me back." And so I was like, okay, no problem. So I bought that first car. We lived on a farm, so we had a shop and I was able to do some repairs with his guidance and clean it up and sell it. And I made a profit. And in 1990, minimum wage was $2.75.
Wow.
So to give you kind of a reality of what that time. So to double my money on it, I thought, oh, okay, this is really a cool venture. I can actually make money, drive the car while I'm fixing it up,
Right.
and do it when I want to do it.
Mm-hmm.
And so that launched me in my ninth grade year of high school.
That's amazing. So you're a freshman doing all that.
I am. Yeah.
That's pretty incredible. So now you got 3 decades in the car business.
Yeah.
When did you actually start working like professionally outside of that? Or did you always just work for yourself with cars? Like what was that?
Well, I had a couple early jobs when I was 15 and 16. One, planning a vineyard, Chateau Bianca Vineyards. And it was really hard work. I mean, we were drilling hole after hole, 4 feet deep for these new vines. And the gentleman who owned it came up to my brother and I at that time and said, "Hey, we're going to build a tasting room. Do you guys have any experience in building?" Well, my parents had always built their own houses and we were right along with them there. So we knew quite a bit about construction. We said, "Yeah, we can be helpful to you." So we get going, we're a week into this. And so we thought, let's ask for a pay raise. So we asked for a pay raise from $2.75 to $3. And we came in the next day and he had a brand new tractor there. So I'm thinking, okay, well, obviously he can afford it.
Mm-hmm.
But he let us go. And I'm thinking, oh.
That did not go the way.
Okay, that did not go the way.
It's going very differently.
Yeah, exactly. So I went from there to working. I lived on a horse farm, and so rode horses. And so I went to a logging company who had horses on these ranches, and they need them worked and trained. And so I started training horses for this ranch. And anyway, I'm hauling a horse, a number of months into this job, and I'm in a very new pickup hauling a 4-horse trailer, and all of a sudden the thing blows up and there is oil all over the horse trailer. And I'm thinking, oh, this isn't good. So I make a call. Well, they had added a turbo to this diesel in 1989 when diesels weren't all that great in Chevys anyway at that point. So I blew up the engine basically, but it was because this turbo was added. So they let me go. And I'm thinking, this is just that you have zero control.
Right.
I decided that day that I had my Mazda 626 that I was working on. I'm thinking, I'm just going to go ahead and try to make it selling cars without working for somebody. So that was my freshman year in high school. And that was the last time I worked for somebody.
Really?
Yeah.
And now you're 27 years old, right? Is it 27?
Yeah.
30?
Close.
30?
Close. Yeah.
Yeah. A few times. You
Yeah.
turned 30 a few times. But that's great. I mean, you hear people talk about, hey, follow your passion, follow the things that you like to do. I think, man, what a great example. But it's not just following your passion. It's also, where's your skill set? So clearly you had a passion, but you also had a skill set to do your passion. Like, I'm passionate about basketball, but they're never going to ask me to play for the Sixers, at least up until this point. I mean, I guess anything could happen. Nothing's impossible with God, but practically, like, we're built a certain way. And then we have passions and stuff and things that we want, things that we don't want. So that's pretty interesting. And I love that, that motivation to decide, hey, like, I'm just going to go for it. Because there's a lot of people that have that inkling and don't take the leap.
Well, I will say that I'm a risk taker. My wife will absolutely agree with that statement. So I'd like to think of myself as a calculated risk taker, but I am definitely a risk taker.
So what did you actually get into a dealership scenario or having a car lot, or what was your first bigger step?
Well, my mom would say it's in the driveway of our farm, where she would like, Eric, for the umpteenth time, I need to get my car out of the garage, and you have 6 cars blocking me.
Wow. So we worked up to 6 cars at your mom's house?
Well, so we're living on this farm, and there's plenty of room for cars. We have the shop. And so, as time went on, I started doing Saabs first, a Swedish car, in 9th grade. And I thought they were just the coolest car.
They were the cool car back.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Oh, there's a really funny story. I borrowed my friend's Saab once. He's like, hey, I'm gonna run up the store. I can't get it in reverse. I couldn't figure out how to. There was like a little button. I didn't know. And I'm like, literally, and not only that, he had the old school car phone in the car. I literally called the office. I'm like, yo, how do you get your car in reverse? I could not figure this out.
Yeah.
They had a weird, quirky mechanism with that.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's true.
Yeah. But they were cool looking cars. They were quick.
They were quick.
Yeah.
They could haul a lot. We called them Swedish pickup trucks. They were just, they were really utilitarian. So that was my freshman year. And then I got into Mercedes later that year with another mechanic that was helping me out, which is fantastic. And then so I'm peddling these really low end crummy cars because it's all I could afford. Right, I only had a few $1,000s, and so I'm with a Saab, and I'm at my Saab mechanic. So this is in Jefferson, Oregon. Name is Rod Beckner, still owns the junkyard today of Saabs.
Wow.
And Rod is just this calm, collected, neat guy that is honest as the day is light and would help anybody. And so I'm out there, and he's helping me figure out how to fix some things, and I'm learning, right? And he invites me into his house right there. It sits next to the junkyard. And he has me sit at the kitchen bar. So I sit down, and he goes to the freezer and pulls out ice cream. And I'm thinking, it's 10 in the morning. What's going on? He opens it up, and he pulls out $5,000 of cold, hard cash, literally. And he goes, here, I want you to take this. I want you to buy some good cars, and you pay me $50 interest a month. And I thought, wow, okay, he must trust me. So that began a really strong relationship for decades, and I still know Rod, and it's not really Saabs anymore, but he was
your first bankroll.
He was, and amazing. And then I would later work into Mercedes, where this gentleman in Independence, Oregon, worked on the Mercedes, and was friends with the farmers. And his name was Kees Grashoff, Scottish guy, really good guy. And I remember pulling up with my first Mercedes, and he goes, "Man, this car is worse than my worst day in my armpit." And I'm thinking, oh, okay. Well, cool. I'm really proud of this car. And Kees would become a friend, and an honest friend. And so he would connect me to farmers as fast as I could find these diesel Mercedes. They had diesel on their farms. And so anyway, by the time I was a senior in high school, I was selling as many as 5 Mercedes a week through this relationship. It was an awesome relationship, and definitely I was grateful for it.
So when did you like set up Freeman?
So
like officially with like an actual spot and off the farm?
Yeah. So 1990 was the beginning, and then off the farm was 1998. So I rented 6 spots in an old gas station on Portland Road in Salem, Oregon. And there were 2 other car dealerships and a shop in this. So we were all jammed in there, and I was renting 6 spots, and I kept getting in trouble because I had more than 6 cars there, and I tried to have them being worked on, so they were in the shop.
Not really 6. It's like
so, and it is truly by God's blessing that we just kept growing. I mean, we just were blowing up, and the reality was my parents lived in Dallas, which from Portland was an hour and a half drive. Salem, I was about 50 minutes from that hub of people who were looking for the kind of cars I was selling. So I was closer to my demographic, and I had a mechanic right there to work on them. And we were right off I-5. So it was just, it was a blessing, and we just kind of blew up there, and the other 2 car dealers moved out in time, and we took over the whole place.
Wow. That's crazy. So looking back at that, what's been your biggest obstacle? Like looking back, maybe some of the growth spurts, like what would have been some of the biggest obstacles you think?
Yeah, that is a good question. I think when you're young and you're doing it by yourself, and my brothers would help me, or my dad would help me. But one of the biggest obstacles is to begin to hire employees to help. And so I can remember hiring those, and like, okay, they have different types of expectations of when you work, and I just think you work all the time,
Right.
So
of course
I have no boundaries, right?
Like their name. Yeah, that's funny.
So I think that was probably one of the biggest boundaries. And then cash flow, you're always against cash flow, and the car business is
it's inventory. That's money. People don't necessarily think about it. It's money sitting on the lot, especially in the luxury area, which I have some friends that have done that too. My friend just started in Scottsdale. I mean, it's a lot of money you have sitting there.
Oh yeah.
Obviously, the nicer the cars, it's more money. Yes.
100%.
Carrying that, right?
Yeah, we call it carrying cost, or we're holding cost per day. And if you think about, most people have been to Pike Street Market in Seattle, and you see these cool fish sitting out, and they throw them, and it's fun. But those fish only have an expectancy of so many days on ice.
Shelf life. Yeah.
Yep. And cars are no different. People think, well, it doesn't rot, but they cost X amount of dollars per day to sit there. And whether it's the land, or it's the electricity,
good point,
or the insurance, or whatever it is. So, today we know that a car costs about $66 per day to sit. And so you can see, okay, how fast does my profit actually fade away?
Is that why? So like I was looking for a car. I have a 24 QX80, and I was looking for
nice.
So it's got like a glove leather quilted interior or something. I just wanted that car. So I waited till I could find it. Right. But it was interesting because they were like, one of my friends got it through a dealership, and the sales manager's like, hey, you could give it time. You don't want to lose it. But he's like, the reality is, he would go in and look how long it's been sitting there. He's like, oh no, it's coming up on 60 days. So they're probably going to want to do something with that because they're not going to hold stuff longer than whatever the time frame. I guess everybody has different time frames, but that's where that comes from, right? Because there's a cost factor to that. Plus it's depreciating. So I'm assuming.
Yep.
It's both of those factors, right?
Yeah. They're converging.
Yeah.
You have economics. You have days old. You have interest rates. So all of these things are converging, either making it easier or harder, and it's typically harder to sell that unit.
So is there any insights or tricks for someone who wants to buy a car, whether it's through Freeman or just in general? What's the best advice for somebody? If I was going to buy a new car, I'm walking in a dealership, what does that look like?
Well, that's an interesting question, Todd, because I have never worked for another car dealership. And so I don't know that I have a lot of insight outside of what I see in my tunnel. But if I were to think from a consumer's side, a car dealership in any realm, whether it's a franchise new car or pre-owned used cars, we all want to end the month strong. So a car dealer's motivation, the later you get in the month, the stronger his motivation or her motivation gets to discount and to get that unit out of the out. Yep.
That makes sense. I had a with my car, it's funny because I knew the GM and they're awesome people. And then the guy who was working with me, he had somebody assigned to me. I'm going to look for a car. I see they have a car that came in. It's really the car that I want. It's 1 year old, but he's like, I'll let you have it for basically what we took it in. So it was a cool deal, great deal for me. And so it was a trade in. It was on a Sunday. And then the next day they accidentally, whoever was covering it, it got sold because the sales rep didn't cover it. I know the GM, but it wasn't him. But so the sales rep calls me and he's a younger guy and he's like, I'm so sorry. He's like, apparently it got sold. And I remember I was like, I was, of course I wasn't happy, but I was like, I'm also kind of, I don't know what the right word is, kind of like easygoing in general with stuff like this. Cause I'm like, people make mistakes. It's a car.
Yeah.
I have a car. It's not like I don't have a car.
Yeah. First world problem.
Yeah. First world problem. Yeah. I travel around the world. I get to see a lot of stuff. I'm not saying I don't ever get upset because when I have to wait in traffic, Eric, you're going to be on the East Coast sometime.
Yeah.
Let me tell you something. Get ready because it's not Portland. But my point is, it was so funny but it worked out better because I was like, they just turned around and said, hey, listen, we're sorry. Here's what we can do. We'll just keep looking for the car. Whatever comes in or if you want to bid on it, that's what you pay. So it worked out really great. Like for me, I actually got exactly what because I want to start exploring more. And I'm like, if I can do this, might as well get what I want and be patient, and that's what I did. It probably took like 6 months, but we would look, put in some bids and I'm like, you know what? There's no reason to overpay for something. I don't want it that bad. And it was funny because I was like, and I just say a quick prayer to my God, you'll be grateful, because sometimes life, you have to let certain things breathe. Now this is just a car. It's not that important, but in life, in running a business at times, things aren't going to go the way you plan.
No.
But you need a vision. You need to go. You have a cause to do it. At the same time, when you're carrying that weight and you're the main person, it is a lot. That is a lot. So you mentioned about your team. How's your approach to like building a team? Where's your location? What does the dealership look like for you guys? What is that like? Tell me about that.
So today we have 2 locations. We have a location in Johns Landing in Portland, Oregon here. And then we have a location in Salem, Oregon, not far from that original dealership we were just talking about.
Okay.
So 2 dealerships, 76 employees. I'm not personally in the day-to-day anymore.
Right.
We have a wonderful gentleman that's been working with us for 25 years. And Marshall Zerner, and he is amazing. As far as teams, I think it's a beautiful morphosis of actually my own being. I grew up in a very transactional, get it done, fix it type of family, naturally on a farm. And
that makes sense.
So it wouldn't be till very later in my life that I would even encounter the word relational and what that meant in differentiation to transactional. And so when you have a spectrum and you look at a transactional, here's me over here, transactional as far as you can possibly go, and you got relational over here. I had to really evaluate what transactional versus relational and is there somewhere in the middle, and where could we go with this, and how was it actually affecting my relationships at home, and how was it affecting my relationships at work? And so I was working through a program with Taylor Ford, and one of the questions that came up for my team was, do you trust me? And the overwhelming, and this feels extremely vulnerable, but the overwhelming thing was, no, we don't trust you. No, sorry. Let me twist that around. We don't feel like you trust us.
Wow.
And so I was like, whoa, that hit me hard. So here I am over here on this transactional side. And what it equates to is micromanaging in a lot of areas, instead of hiring and trusting somebody to really hold on and take vision and run with it. And so there was a definite period of time, and still is working in me, where I have to move more towards the relational and leave the transactional behind. So, does that answer the question?
No,
I think,
and
for
that's
you?
a really great point. I think a lot of people struggle with this, and so like even when I've dealt with people in leadership roles, because we all come from where we came from. Like all I have to use is my experience.
Yeah.
That's my school for anybody. So like why wouldn't I be that way? The good news is, however we are, we don't have to stay that way. So whatever we are, so everybody, even if somebody's more relational. So I'd say I'm heavy on the relational side, but sometimes I initially be transactional, but I need to hold people more accountable, let's say, more task driven, let's put it that way. So as a pastor, though, it's great to be. It would be a problem if it was the opposite. It doesn't really lump people. I legitimately do. The seeds were there when I was a little kid. My mom was like maybe 4 years old. You're out front on the step. We had some people doing work on the house, and you're out there front talking to the guy and asking how his day is. like one of the construction workers, he gave you half of a sandwich, and you're just sitting out there chilling on the curb. But my point is, it is both. It is both. And depending, the other part is like defining, this is part of it. Where I am today is my starting point. Like, what do I want that leadership to be like? What do I want people? Now, I'm not talking about likability per se, because we all want to be liked on some level, and some people don't care. But besides, like, what do I want? I'm building a story. I got a pen in my hand. The next chapters have not been written yet. What do I want those to look like? And what could I challenge in myself to become? Because anything that's greater, it's not about me. Even in prayers, like, God, bring me this or bring me that. It's really wrong to ask for God do something. Maybe the better question is like, maybe not God, where's my direction? But God, where can I add the most value? How can I be the most valuable? How can I be the most valuable to my team? Because in doing that, I'm going to bring the best of what I am, which is the only thing I can bring. So asking the question differently, but then also being open to say like, hey, I don't want to ever stop growing. And if God's in my life, anything he gave me, there's an expectation that I am going to grow it. I'm going to grow. So whatever's in my life is on this table. So it could be job, parents, family. There's an expectation from God. He says, Eric, these are the things I've given you. You're supposed to grow those, and I'll help you. But there's something that's going to cost me to get better in that process.
Yeah. So let me play off that a little bit. I think when you go from transactional over here to relational over here, right? We got a good spectrum going on here. And I started to move this way. It became less about the cars and more about the people.
Yes.
And I would say this is the same scenario for my wife, who is an incredible leader of teams. And she would challenge me to go, Eric, are you catching somebody doing wrong, or are you catching somebody doing right? And are you for that person? Are you for that team? And I think as my mentality began to transition, it became so much more rewarding to go to work. It wasn't about the number of cars necessarily that we were selling, but about the lives that were being changed. And we're often asked, what's your mission, or where are you on mission? And and I would personally say that we are on mission in Freeman Motor Company, at Freeman Motor Company, and into our community.
But do you think, like, I love that point. What your wife says is great. It's a great point. I also think it starts to align with, this is like, there's something you're supposed to bring. Because if it was only about cars, it would be a really empty life. Because let's just say you could have 100 dealerships and maybe you're doing good with it. And let's just say you have a certain level of satisfaction in your life, which you would feel a certain level of satisfaction. Just say you have a good relationship at home. But the minute in anything we do in life that all of a sudden is using people or transacting people, or like we've already cut off a piece of our life that we're meant to explore, to help, and I don't only mean that it's a foundation helping people. I just mean in practicality, we live in a world with other people. And there's something that only you can bring. When you show up, there is a wiring that's good the way that you are. Like there's a great thing that's inside of you that's like that. At the same time, we're also growing, who God wants us to be. Why? Because it benefits us, but we're building something. Like I was telling you about one of the guys that was on the show before, the guy, Dan Hesse, who was a Sprint CEO, and he was talking about he was going to take this job over that was like, what am I doing? But it was like, hey, I saw the faces of these people and like, I'm responsible now.
Yeah.
So, but what does the Bible say? But to whom much is given, much is required. It doesn't mean that, I can't sin ever. Like some people interpret it that way. I'm not saying it's not about accountable, but I think it's bigger than that.
And we do too. We could not be in more agreement. So when that reality began to change in me, we began to look for opportunities inside Freeman Motor Company that we could build our team. And that meant personally and as a team. So how are our employees handling their finances? We brought somebody in.
I love that.
To go, let's teach a class on how to handle finances to employees and spouses within Freeman Motor Company. We began to say we're a faith-driven company. I mean, when you come to interview at Freeman Motor Company, you're going to know right off the bat that we're a faith-driven company. We're not bashful about it. The music says it. The way we come across says it. The way we do business says it. And if that is offensive to you, we're okay with that. And this is not probably going to be the place to do it. So with that being said, within Freeman Motor Company, we pray publicly within our company. And so we also offer alpha classes.
Those are great. Yeah.
Amazing opportunity for different backgrounds to come together in a safe space over a meal and share where we are in faith. And so it's been these beautiful moments where we've seen what we're just people come together, and it's more like family now. We work together. That's a given. But we know more about each other through these kinds of transactions. And I say transactions, but it's really relational type events.
Yeah. And I mean, we've heard this in leadership. It's so funny because all these principles that we get back to, they're in the Bible.
Absolutely.
We don't need to say chapter. I don't need to say chapter and verse about a principle. I've said this before. Principles just work. You can say, I don't believe in that. I don't believe in gravity. Well, you jump off the building, the top of this roof, you're going to realize it does exist. Like there's certain principles, when you follow them, they will give you a result. And there's a way to operate. It's like this operational agreement. And especially when it comes back to people, for me, the greatest asset in any company or organization is people.
Yes.
Yes, you need capital. Yes, you need great ideas and all these things. But at the end of the day, I've been at end of life with so many different people over the years. I've been pastoring over 30 years. And, it's 9/11. We're filming this 9/11.
Yeah.
It's going to show up later. But, I still remember where I was. And we're in this place in Malton, New Jersey. At the time, I was working with Verizon, and they were introducing this digital thing. You're old enough to remember phone books. Kids, they used to have these books. When you wanted to find out what was going on, you just put it there. And even when you wanted somebody's phone number, you could call 411, or you could just look their name up. Everybody's name, address, everything was right there.
Isn't that crazy?
I know. And we used to sell ads. It was so funny. So car dealers were big ads. Lawyers were big ads.
Yep.
And the county where we were outside of Philly, Camden County, was pretty large. But like a full page ad was probably color was like $4,000 to $5,000 a month.
Wow.
Way back then. We're talking 2001, right? So it was a big market, though. It was a big market. So I remember we're in this room. I was telling Nick this earlier, that they said, "Oh, plane hit the World Trade Towers." We're like, "What?" That must have been a weird freak thing, and they're trying to figure out. Then another one hits, and they bring out these TVs, and there's like 100, 200 people in this big, giant, open sales floor room, and they have these TVs. Remember in the carts?
Mm-hmm.
And then we're watching it, and I'll never forget it because people were scared, nervous, and then when the first tower started to fall, there's two women. They literally physically collapsed and were crying. People just got their stuff left, took off, and in that moment, it was so much turmoil, right? And so much fear. And, people were uncertain about the future. And it just, obviously it rocked our whole nation. And when I look back at that, now I started to lose my train of thought why I was saying that. We can't edit this. What were you saying right before that? Sorry, dude. I said,
that's a good question.
where was I, Nick? Where was I? You remember?
Gosh, I was trying.
We can keep rolling. No, we're good. It was
Talking about the two women collapsed.
yeah.
No.
Oh, got it.
9/11.
I'm back.
Yeah, 9/11.
So we got these things collapse, and everybody's questioning, running around, everybody's scared, and all that people were worried about, man, because we're in the East Coast, we're like an hour, 2 hours. I'm calling my cousin, my aunt. Everybody's trying to call my cousin because they think he was up Twin Towers. Everybody's got a friend, family, it's people that used to work there.
Yeah.
Nobody's like, oh my God, I wonder what's going to happen to my stocks.
Yeah.
Nobody was like, dude, I better hit my sales quota. Like, I don't know what's going to happen with that. Like nobody was thinking about that.
Mhm.
Everybody was worried about another person.
Mm.
And when I've been into life with people in general, most people at end of life recently, this last 6 months, had a woman, she lived a great life. She loved God. She's in her bed and she's dying and everybody knows, she knows it, lived a full life. Her kids, her grandkids are surrounding her.
Mhm.
We're singing, we said a prayer, played some worship, one of her favorite worship songs. And all she did was want to just hold each one and hug and tell them how much she loved them, tell them how much she was proud of them. And then she just went on to be with the Lord. And we hear it, we say it, but life gets so busy, man. There's so many different distractions, and we're trying to build it. But at the end of the day, it always is about people. Jesus came and died. He didn't die for buildings and programs, all that stuff. It was people.
Yeah.
It's always about people. We're his highest creation. The Bible says creates the world, creates, the sky. He does the sky first, and he puts birds. He doesn't put the fish and then water. He just like there's water and then there's fish. He creates everything, and then he puts man. And the Bible says puts man in earth. After everything's ready for man, he puts it, and it's the only thing God puts his hand on and breathes into.
Yep.
Like that's how important we are to him. We're created in his image and likeness. So how much more should we care for each other? And we're going to have strife and turmoil. But my point is this: at a fundamental level, for me, I've always been like, now I'm pastoral and I like people a lot. So I'm outgoing. So it's maybe probably easier for me than other people. But the truth is, it's like I keep that as a North Star for me. In my hardest times in life, when I've gone through hell, when I didn't understand, I was telling you stuff about our daughter, Ian, she's teen, and finding out like, oh my God, all this stuff happened to her and she was little and we had no idea, and to sit there with a counselor. Now we're like trying to figure out, what do we do? How do we get her healthy? And how do we navigate this? And I'm the dad. And as a dad, you're trying to figure things out. You're like, God, I don't know what I should do. And then I'm hurting myself. She's hurting. And we're trying to figure out life. And, but these are, everybody has stories, right? And hardships that we go through.
I think we were talking about that.
Yeah.
Just the fact that, I think COVID brought this reality to me. And I think people became a little bit more vulnerable in COVID because we were all in something together. I mean, all.
Good point. Yeah.
And the fact that we're either, it's a common struggle. We're either going into something hard, we're in something hard, or we're leaving something hard.
Yes.
And you had another way of saying it, I think.
Yeah. The Jersey way. You're either in a fight, going to a fight,
okay,
or you're coming from a fight.
Yeah.
But we can agree. I love it. We're saying the same thing. Yeah. No, it's true.
So, but in the common denominator is people, right? People are everywhere we rub up against people each day. And the question is, what are we going to do with the opportunities that are presented? And I think about even talking to my wife last night, who's on business travel this week, and she's in a shuttle van, and she's sitting near the driver, and the driver picks her up, and she's sharing about the morning and stuff, and he starts to begin to ask, and they end up on faith. And, she asked, what's his story? And he says, well, I'm an addict, and I'm coming out of recovery.
Wow.
And I was baptized 2 weeks ago. And this is in a shuttle van in New York.
Yeah.
And she's like, what an opportunity. Like it's not an accident. I was here at this moment in time. And here we are. It's about people. My wife and I, were recently at a Fellowship of Christian Athletes event in Arizona, and one of the speakers brought up what Ann and I have now developed as our mission as a family. And the speaker talked about the fact that each one of us are like a mist. And it's kind of like if you think about a tombstone, that dash, that's your mist, right? That's what you live between those 2 years. And we live next to a cemetery and walk often, maybe 3 or 4 times in there a week. And it's interesting to see how many people live between maybe 50 and 65 years. So you just kind of think about where you are. Go, okay, that's not very long.
Right.
So it's a mist. I mean, and he sprayed a bottle. If you can just imagine a mist bottle, sprayed it up, and it just, it's there.
Evaporated.
It was in 2 seconds. So the 4 things that he said were: live more fearlessly. I'm thinking, okay, where am I reserving myself to be safe? Love more deeply. Where do I need to just put myself out there, like Christ did? Give more generously. What am I holding back? Like, what am I hoarding that I need to give away? And then share the gospel more boldly. And so what are you doing with your mist?
I love that.
And so as we talk about people and moving away from transactional, which there is a balance, but for me, it's moving more towards this relational part.
I love that. What are those 4 things again, real quick?
Live more fearlessly, love more deeply, give more generously, and share the gospel more boldly, which is encompassing the fact, what are you doing with the mist that you were given?
Yeah. Like we were saying earlier, it's, time is a funny thing. It's the one asset that we spend every day, and we don't know where the balance is.
Absolutely not.
We have no idea.
No.
And, I heard somebody say this recently. It was something to this effect, like, hey, we think about building a platform, which we should. You should build your platform as much as you can. Like whatever God's giving you the parable of the talents tells us that. Jesus is saying that, hey, what's your talent? The one that took one guy buried it, didn't do anything with it. Eventually took it from that person, gave it to the one who did the most with it. Right. So, we're going to do something anyway. If you're alive, you're going to occupy space anyway. What if you could be more intentional? What if you could actually start visiting God's Dream Theater and say, like, maybe this is what I could be? Like I said, we're created by God, in His image and likeness. He's a creative God. I won't go into a whole big Bible study on that. There's a whole bunch of words on that. But the truth is like, it's fairly limitless on God's end. Now on our end, and we have limitations, but if I should never be putting limits on something God didn't put a limit on. I should never get to the point where, this is just enough, because it's not about the money. It's like you said, what am I hoarding? I love that statement, because it's like, what is it? My time, my talent, my treasure. It's not even that. Like I do some trips around the world. We do like Rwanda. I have a group trip coming up to Thailand, which would be super cool, like a mastermind mission, but it's all for like business entrepreneurs, high performing. And it's one of the guys actually from here, has a couple of businesses, gave some money to a property, and now they have a whole facility there. They rescue kids, girls, and then they have a whole self-sustaining thing. Like 18 years in, they've saved hundreds of kids, and now they have a whole church. They have a farm. They have, all the stuff there. We'll go do a project and then kind of go to Phuket. It's like only like an hour away. So that we could be a really cool experience. Yeah. But along with being like part of a project that's actually helping people. And part of it is helping people discover the print that God's given them for the season that we're in. Every roughly 7 years or so, 10, we're going to have a shift in life. where we were in our 20s isn't like the kid that's on the farm selling 6 cars is not the same kid sitting in this chair today.
Yeah.
You are in many ways, but in many other ways, you're not.
Mm.
And so at the core, yes, and there's some great things. But the other thing, I'm not the same kid from South Jersey who grew up, my parents were Italian, like love that, like love my family and all, but like never wanted to be on stage. I don't want to be on stage. I want to be behind the scenes. I was outgoing. I'm never going to be on stage. Like, don't do that. I don't want to do that. My dad would be like, come on, get up there. You can do the offering. I'm like, do you want people to give? What is the goal here? Or is this a sympathy play? Like, look at Pastor's son. We feel so bad. Maybe we should throw a couple extra bucks in. But there is a bigger purpose in my life, and so we kind of get into these things through steps. I want to get back to something we talked about on the leadership side.
Mm-hmm.
How do you, how would you coach other leaders? Because I love what you're doing because you've raised up people to run this. Like, that's incredible. Mm-hmm. That's a huge blessing. Mm-hmm. And it takes a different skill set. When I was talking to Dan Hesse, he was talking about, this big organization, that the skill set he used, build Sprint, he was like, we in AT&T Wireless, he's like, when I went to do a smaller startup thing, I was not a good match for that, but was not. It just wasn't him, so we're all wired differently. But what do you think, like fundamentally from a leadership standpoint, would you say, or advice you would give if somebody came to you and said, okay, Eric, man, I got this team. We're not performing well, right? Mm-hmm. We're not performing well, but like, it's like, because what you did is you built a really great close team. Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think some of the steps were internally? You did mention about going from transactional and the way you saw it. Mm-hmm. And let me just throw this in there. That's a really great, I give you kudos for making a shift and change because you didn't have to. Mm-mm. I'm not trying to pump you up, but you didn't have to. Like, it's cool that you're continuing to grow. But how we view something is how we treat it.
Yeah.
I'm here, we got a rental car. Now, I'm not beating it up, but I have some friends, they will beat up a rental car because it's like, it's not my car. Mm-hmm. So I'll trash it. And if you start showing up at something, either resenting it, disliking it, we either appreciate it, hate it, but how we view something matters. So anyway, how do you think, or what advice would you give to some leaders out there that are watching this? They're saying like, I do want to be, maybe I'm more of a transactional. I need to be better. What are some steps I should take?
I think the first thing that hit me was a divorce, and I'm not asking anybody to take that step,
right?
But it is something really, really deep that went on in my life, and I believe I lived in a place with a white picket fence. And I wanted things to appear perfect. And so I made them that way. I managed them that way. I controlled things so they were perfect.
You created an image that way.
Yes. And what was just like beyond comprehension was when somebody told me about vulnerability, told me about the fact that if you appear put together, Eric, if you appear like there is nothing that needs fixed in your life, you actually are holding out a hand. You're actually putting up a wall between you and anybody else if they don't perceive themselves as good or as perfect or as put together as you. And then I started to think about that, and I'm like, who am I attracted to? I'm attracted to people that are vulnerable, that don't come off like they have it all together. They're humble.
Right.
And so I had to just take a 180 and look at myself in the mirror and go, okay, am I a vulnerable person? Am I able to talk about the things that are my weaknesses in front of my children, in front of my wife, in front of my teams? And so I think, and thinking about leadership, when I began to allow that vulnerability out with a willingness to work on it and allow others to speak into it, I began to blossom. I began to grow.
That's really good.
That barrier was torn down.
And you know what, too? What you build into, now all of a sudden you shift, because when you're writing the paychecks, people are going to do what you want. Here's a question. Do I just want compliance? Or do I want somebody who really wants to be there, who loves to be there, who actually respects me, but it's not just an issue of compliance or position, but it's actually based on my actually personal feelings, maybe towards them, towards where my environment. I used to work for, do you ever hear of Cardone Industries? We didn't talk about this. A1 Auto Parts. Do you ever hear of them back in Philly? So they were one of the largest automotive remanufacturers in the country.
Okay.
So way back in the day, like it probably like a water pump probably had 80% market share. So Western Auto, Napa Auto Parts, all that. And so I had the opportunity to work there with my dad had known somebody. So anyway, I got to go work there. Their distribution center was over 1 million square feet.
Wow.
So
that's just,
I mean,
wow.
I know, crazy. And you know what's funny? Like I could barely change my windshield wiper fluid. like it's a joke. Like I literally, I was supposed to like change out the battery, and like my dad's like, let your sister do it. Don't touch it. Like, I have story after story. You remember the old ramps you drive up?
Yeah.
So I remember my dad had to put up, and I was like, I'm going to change it. He's like, don't do it. Leave it alone. I'm like, Dad, I could do it. Leave it alone. Do not play around with it. Well, sure enough, I went out. Eric, it's a true story. I drove up. I thought I was up near the time. My friend's like, come on, a little more. I literally drove over and just sat.
Oh, no.
Like just
you went just a little too far. And so,
So of course went in, got my dad. And then I had my other buddy. I'm like, yo, Ray's coming over. Cause kids don't remember this. But back in the day, that radio that you had in your car could be kind of trashy.
But maybe not a good radio.
A good radio. So I had my first car was a 79 Malibu Classic 2-door. So not the Babe Mobile, not the Hot Mobile. But for me, I was like, I bought it myself. I made my own money. I got it. And then got a chef. The chef I worked for, I worked in a really nice restaurant. He had an accident car. He said, I got a Buick Regal, nice one. I had a 2-door. He's like, I'm going to get cash out on that insurance. If you want, I'll give it to you like $500. You just get the body work done. You can paint it whatever you want. And I was like, yeah. I thought I was so cool in that car because I got it all painted, and it had like, this is Jersey Italian, Eric. This like crushed red velvet internally, all red leather. Like I thought I was so cool.
What year?
I thought it was a cool. This is like 1987.
Okay,
like,
yeah,
88, somewhere in there. And I just thought I was like the coolest kid on the block. But it wasn't just the car, it was the radio. So anyway, we get this radio, and my dad's like, I'm putting a new radio. You just don't do that. You don't know what you're doing. My dad's loving, but he's very direct. He's like old school Italian. Like, I love you, but I'll tell you the truth. And so we go out. I said, no, Ray's going to help me. My buddy Ray from the city. Now, me and Ray put together, neither one of us could have put half of it in. We should not be doing this. Like, it was so funny. So he's like, don't do it. And I never forget, it was like Sunday afternoon after church. We're out there just we're pulling everything apart. That wasn't that hard, actually.
Yeah, the old days, the deck
and the speakers and like trying to cut stuff, and like that was actually easy. The minute we started to try to hook things up, nothing was working. I'm like, Dad, can you come out here for a minute? And it's like, I told you so. I wish he was here because he'd be like, oh my God, yeah. So I ended up working for the automotive remanufacturer, but I wasn't good at parts. But here's what it taught me. I look back at life, it's like so many things, how God just puts you where you need to be. That's what happened. So, and I was always good with people. So I became like a manager in a customer service bar, which was servicing the whole country and part of Canada.
Wow.
So in every major, automotive dealer, everybody used their parts. But it was a great experience for me because they actually were Christian people, privately held. I mean, there was easily back then close to $1 billion in gross sales. I mean, it was unbelievable. And then their platform, the way they played it out was like, hey, we have these values. These are our core values. One of them was like, we honor God in all we do, but it was more than a mantra. Like, it was actually what they tried to live. And so they would do something called a take 5. So 5 minutes before work started, you would just have a quick scripture and then a prayer for anybody there. It would go a little bit longer than that, but nobody was obligated to be there. But like, that's what they did. They'd hold chapels once a week in every department, big department. So like full on worship, but it was like an hour before work, half hour before work, and they bring in speakers. And it was such a great experience for me. But one of the things it did introduce me to was like, it's on the practical side of business, like wiper motors. If you had a really bad winter or stuff, like all of a sudden, numbers would spike, and trying to navigate inventory and because it's like, you don't just make parts and they're there, like there's this whole projection and stuff. So I'm kind of curious because I'm just talking about the parts side of things. What about the car dealership side? Where are we today compared to like 15 years ago, 20 years ago with running dealerships and the internet and all that? Like, how has that changed the business model?
Well, we went through the internet change in the late 90s, early 2000s, which we went from I don't know if you remember the AutoTrader book.
Yeah.
You would buy it.
Oh my gosh. I remember doing that, like circle, like call me.
Yeah.
Is this car still available?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So then we went to, AutoTrader online and just for fun. I mean, I can remember going to my first full AutoTrader online, and it was $199 a month. And today we pay about $25,000 a month for that same
No way.
source of data. So yeah,
Crazy.
big change. But I think the biggest change is in the last 5 years where AI is coming on the scene and it's changing stuff faster than we can imagine. But you had COVID in there. And so you had a lack of production of parts, which means a lack of production of cars. And with a lack of production of used cars were selling more than new cars. And so you have this, and then you had interest rates that were low in 2021.
We're in the basement, and then
So you got somebody who paid a ton for a car, low interest rate. Now they're a couple of years trying to trade it in. Interest rates are up, and cars maybe settle down, but they have so much negative equity that they can't get it on top and get their rate lower. So it's a very interesting point in time. And of course, it's a very competitive market at this point. So your platforms such as AutoTrader, Car Gurus, Craigslist, they have now put on consumer information so that I mean, you were telling me earlier, how many days a car is on the lot.
Yeah.
They're going to tell you whether it's a fair deal, a great deal, a bad deal.
And it's accurate.
And well, whether it's accurate or not, that's what they're telling you.
Gotcha.
So as dealers, we don't get to manipulate.
You don't have any control over that.
No.
It's a third party. That's a good part.
So we have to live in those levels. And if you don't, your car will disappear into the black hole. We call black to market
money.
Yeah. And so you're paying all these dollars, but you're on the fifth page. Well, you're not going to the fifth page.
Right.
So it's just a waste of dollars. So it's
interesting.
Anyway, I mean, that's just a few.
Well, and then people we want to find things as fast as possible too, in general. Back in the day, you'd be like, all right, I'm going to check this place out. And my dad was big on research, right? So we're going to go, we'd literally drive to a couple stores, check things out. Like people aren't going to do that now.
No,
it's not.
No. They buy within about 1.5 stops. It does not take, they've done the research at home. They're sitting in their bathrobe at 1 a.m.
So if they're going to buy, they're going to be 1.5 stops and they're going to make a decision.
Yeah.
What's the role of AI in a car business? Where do you think we're going?
I don't know that I'm probably prepared to say that. I see it affecting leads coming in and how we respond to them at all hours of the day.
Or
I don't
AI
know, but it's AI intelligence answering questions at 2:30 in the morning to somebody instead of a real person. AI can predict parts. There's so many other things too that we're just even starting to explore in advertising places and things like that. So, it's definitely going to affect it. But what we are finding is, and we've been talking about this the whole hour, people still matter. When you're buying the second most expensive product that you're going to buy in a lifetime, a car over a home, I want to see you. I want to trust you. I want to deal with a real person.
Good point.
And Carvana is trying to take that away, they're with a vending machine type scenario. But still somebody has to deliver that product to you and it's a face-to-face.
Yeah.
They still have not figured out how to take the human out of it completely. And I think that the world is saying we still want to deal with a human.
Yeah, I think too. I was with a guy who runs ClickFunnels, Russell Brunson. Have you ever heard of him?
I don't know. No.
So they do these big ClickFunnels thing. They created that hook, but he's a really good point. Watched him on a live podcast. I went to the event and he was saying he said, hey, you know what's going to happen eventually? It's the personal touch is going to be the premium. For brands, let's say, how I help coach or companies or helping them grow or become this on the full profit, whatever that looks like, right? So that's fine, but actually people could do research and figure out and look up all kinds of great ideas.
Yep.
But they don't have a person, and that's going to make the difference. Like that's going to be the premium. And so he was talking about pressing into being authentic, being yourself, having a clearly defined, like, this is what I am, this is what I'm not, like, this is what I'm really shooting for, which we've heard before, but that will become more, it will become more important. It will stand out more. And
Do you believe it already is?
do I believe it's already standing out?
Yeah.
I think so to a degree. Yeah. I think, well, so here's the instance. Let's say take the church business world from a business standpoint, right?
Okay.
So that's people coming to church. We have way more people that watch online than come live
Mm.
in our scenario.
Mm-hmm.
We have thousands of people come live, but we still have a lot more that watch streaming.
Mm-hmm.
You know what?
My question would be, during COVID, we dipped down, right? People didn't want to work. They were getting paid in other ways. And so the level of service, which I think is what I hear you saying,
Yeah.
is going to become the differentiator. And I think it already is.
Yeah.
We dipped to an all-time low, where it's like, I want you to tip me for checking you out. Not
Right.
for actually serving you, but for,
Just because I'm here.
yeah, I'm breathing. And so
I need money. So can you hook brother up? Yeah.
now, whether it's you're going to a restaurant or buying a car or any other kind of service,
Mhm.
you're seeing this huge gap between the actual service or I'm just going to give you the product.
Mhm.
And so we're actually in the midst right now of redefining what luxury is.
Mhm.
Is luxury the car? We've been talking about people, or is luxury the experience?
Yeah.
And we're leaning towards the Ritz-Carlton. We're leaning
Yeah.
towards it's about people. It's
Yep.
about the experience. And whatever the car is they want, we're going to sell you a good car. Lots of people sell good cars.
Yeah.
How are we going to treat you?
Yeah, that's so good. So let's just take it for one of the things I'm doing here, even aside from the church. For church, I would say, like, hey, when somebody's got a problem, whatever, we want to show up, meaning
Mm-hmm.
talk on the phone, meet in person. Are you going to be there Sunday? Hey, meet me in the lobby. Like, try to find that personal touch
Mm-hmm.
for their life. If they have a prayer request, like trying to find a way to connect. From church thing, that really matters because people remember that. It's meaningful.
Yep.
On the brand side of things, as I'm building, we told you about some of these trips. Well, these are like targeting high end. These are high end things. We do the Rwanda trip. I mean, it's where the genocide was. 1993, they rebuilt the whole country. It's an incredible culture. I mean, they're a lighthouse to other nations right now. I mean, and they're very strong Christian culture. It's one of the only places in the world where you can hike up and go see silverback gorillas. I mean, there's several things about it, but it's a really expensive trip. Like, it's not, but the people that would go with me on this trip, they can go there anytime they want. They could go anywhere they want. Honestly, they go on vacation wherever they want.
Yeah.
What's the difference?
Yep.
It's the experience. We're still going to do some of the same thing, but the experience they're going to have,
Mm-hmm.
or we go to Thailand or, Nicaragua, where we've done the entrepreneurs conferences where people just get up and share,
Mm-hmm.
which is really so cool. That's the giveaway. So instead of building a house, we're building people. We're going to help the entrepreneurs. Like, why not do that? Like, I have invites, Kenya, Zimbabwe. I've done Kingdom Conference. We've done South Africa is open. There's so many countries where we can take people in, which I'm doing.
Mm-hmm.
But like, hey, it's a giveaway. And guess what, man? People feel great.
Mm-hmm.
But it's the full experience that makes the difference, to your point. And I really think that's going to be, because innately in every single one of us, everybody in the planet, I don't care what country I've been to, when I've been to China, Beijing, I've been to, Zimbabwe or Latin America, everybody has a need to be loved and to love something. It's just a human, but that's a personal thing. It's not, you can't do that like just through screens and all like that. I mean, authentically, everybody has a desire to authentically love someone and to feel and be authentically loved.
Absolutely. Seen, heard.
Yes.
It makes me think of scenarios that we go through every month, and our slogan at Freeman Motor Company is "Drive away confident." And that could be misinterpreted that you're driving away and you're confident that car is always going to work. And I could tell you and be the first one to say that with a car with over 2,000 moving parts, something's going to break. It's not if, it's just when.
Yeah.
And so drive away confident means that we've been here for 35 years and we pray that we will be here for another 35 years. But when you have an issue, how are we going to show up? And I think to piggyback on what you're saying is what experience when something gets hard, or how are we going to show up as Freeman Motor Company?
That's good. Let me ask you a question. We'll go maybe some fun questions.
Okay, let's do it.
So like, what's a dream car you've always wanted? If God said, hey, you can just, no way, just like, and it's available to you. It's not somebody can, what would be your dream car?
You know, people ask me that a lot. I mean, I do love cars,
but just, you're around them so much, does it matter?
Maybe so. I mean, my question back with you, what experience am I going on that day?
Great point. Yeah. Okay. What would have been the Eric's 16-year-old Eric's answer to that question? What would have been your dream car back in the day?
It would have been a Saab 9000 turbo.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I remember I went to prom. Somebody, I had a 89, 88, 87 Mustang GTs. Remember when they came out? And my friend let me borrow his.
Oh, wow.
And I thought I was the coolest guy ever.
Yeah.
He's like, just take it. I remember I was out in front of my parents' house and I'm like, all right, here we go. My dad's like, listen, it's a 5-speed. It's not like, and I went through some cars too, because I'm like, well, I could sell for this and get this. I wasn't you, but and then I had a Honda Accord for a while, the little hatchbacks, the 2 doors. So they were a 5-speed. It was really little different than driving the Mustang GT.
Mm-hmm.
I light up out front because I'm trying to be cool. Fishtail, almost lose control. Goes like, oh my God, scared at my man. And then back then there was no cell phone. So my dad couldn't even call me. He wanted to kill me, but I'm going now. Like, wait till I got home. He's like, are you insane? What's wrong with you? Like, how are you going to pay for that car? Your friend let you use your car. You're driving like a maniac,
Yeah.
So what's the most surprising or maybe weird trade-in you've ever seen at the lot? Any oddball?
Oh, I think probably one of the weirdest trade-in scenarios that we had was a number of years ago. We had somebody bring a car in, and we, like any dealership, give you a trade-in number. And this car was so bad, Todd. And so we said, this is not something you have to do, but if we're going to take this car in, you'll have to pay us $500. And they did.
Wow.
They knew how bad it was. So, and I think it's like the general public believes that every car is worth X and we're going to make $1 gazillion on it, which is, we make so little on the front end of a car. It's you would laugh if you knew what we made. But to take a car that you don't sell, okay, I'm not going to sell this car to the public because I can't put my name on it. Right. So we have to take it to the auction, right? And we're going to sell it there. The time that you detail it, transport it, sell it at the auction,
it's not free.
And a
You're
fee.
Spending money, yeah.
Right.
It's costing you, yeah.
Yeah, it costs you money. So that's why when you say, I'm only getting $500 or $1,000, it's going to cost us that just to get rid of it.
That makes sense.
So that was a fun experience.
Yeah. Would there be, do you like driving? Do you like road trips?
I love to drive. I do. And my wife does too. And so I can be in either seat, but there's something about the feel and the smoothness or the rumble of a motor. Or
what are you driving today?
Something.
Were we in?
I'm driving a Porsche Macan S.
Okay.
Which is just fabulous. It's really like a sports car lifted up to be a SUV.
Gotcha.
But it's such a fun car. Love Porsche.
Okay. So you have the opportunity to take a road trip. Not family members, okay? And not Jesus, somebody alive. Or like maybe not a lot. But who would be the 2 people you'd want to be on a road trip with that you think you'd find interesting?
Oh, the 2 not family?
Not family.
Oh, I can't.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Who would I take?
And not my friend Chris.
Not my friend Chris, yeah. And not Jesus. Now it's coming like
it could be in
circle.
history. It could be somebody from history, but not from the Bible.
I think it would be really interesting to hang out with Henry Ford and understand, like, obviously there was a love, but he was an inventor of cars. So I think that would be a really interesting person to hang out with. And then I think it would probably be somebody who would be from the past, and I'm not sure maybe who this person is. I'd have to think about it, but somebody who had never been in a car. So
that's a cool one.
you're bringing somebody from the past where a mode of transportation would have been maybe a wagon and a horse or a camel or something like that.
Yeah.
So I think that would be kind of fun for them to experience what it'd be like.
That would be. That's a great
transport in
answer.
a car.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So, Lynn, because I know we need to wrap here. Appreciate your time.
absolutely.
If God said, okay, here, I'm going to give you a FaceTime and you could go ahead and FaceTime heaven, talk to anybody you want, like somebody from that you knew or pet. Who would you want to call and what would you want to say to them?
Well, I'd probably want to call Peter.
Okay.
And he was a really interesting figure in the Bible and to me. And I feel like there was times where he showed up like really well, right? I mean, he's a rock, right? He's an intimate rock. And then there's other times where he showed up and he was as timid and literally lied 3 times in a row saying that he didn't, and what are you talking about? And so I can find myself at times being that chameleon or molding in, and I would want to say, what drove you to grow out of that? What pulled you in a way where your identity was in Christ, and it began to dissipate with anybody around you, what they thought.
Yeah.
I think that would just be an amazing encouragement to me.
That's good, man. That's good. I know that, I wish we had more time, but I know that you've experienced a lot. I appreciate you sharing what you have shared.
Yeah.
And, I think, as you positioned your life and even as your family, you and your wife, are positioning yourselves, to not only to build great businesses, build people, but you're investing in other people. And I know I could feel it, and I know that you care about that. And man, I just look forward to what the future holds for you guys.
Thank you.
Because God's going to use you guys, and I know He's going to use you in an amazing way. And I say this a lot, but the world is a better place because people decide to live this way. The world doesn't change without people changing.
Yeah.
And I'm not responsible for everybody, but I want to be on assignment. I want to know that my life matters, and I don't do it for fame and fortune or just to be. And for some people, that's the platform they have. And even with athletes that I've dealt with and other, like say, famous people, I've always said it this way. One of my prayers, your prayer should never be like, I don't want to ever be seen, because doesn't help a platform to not be seen. But it's more of like, Lord, help me be seen, that I become invisible. They might see you. The best of what that is. So,
Yeah. Well, thank you for having me. I think in wrapping it up, years ago, Blackaby wrote a book, and he talked about joining the Holy Spirit, joining God where He's working. And I think that's one of my prayers, I think, is I wake up each day. God, where are you working? Show me clearly.
That's so good.
Where you're asking me to step in, whether it's comfortable or not, and join you.
Yeah, that's good. Well, just a quick bow on this thing. For all of you leaders, those of you watching this, remember, it's not about where you start. It is about getting started.
Yes.
Doesn't matter where you start. You could start on a farm with an idea and a passion and just working hard. And it's funny how God can take you to, wherever that is. In your case, it's dealerships and beyond. And, in that process, just want to encourage everybody, don't settle. Don't settle. You may have enough money, but don't settle. You're more than money. You're more than just your title. You're so much more than that. And so make that commitment, like my brother said here, to take seriously your life and really grow to be everything God's intended it to be. That really, when you get to the end, and you get for the Lord, you hear good and faithful, but maybe you're like, it's not like, man, you were 50% of the guy you could have been.
Can I tell one quick story here?
Yeah, please, go ahead.
And I may not get this perfect, but you'll get the gist of it. But this man dies, and he meets Peter at the gates. Maybe you even told this story before. And so he gets to come into heaven, and he goes, "Hey, what's that building over there?" to Peter, and he goes, "No, it's off limits." And he goes, "Oh, really? I'd really like to go in that building." He goes, "It's off limits." And he keeps pushing Peter, and Peter's like, fine, okay, let's go in. And he goes in, and there's just stacks and stacks of boxes in this building. And he goes, well, there's names on these. Is my name on one? He goes, yeah, but you wouldn't want to look in it. He goes, no, I really want to look in it. And he keeps pushing again. And Peter's like, fine, okay. I think this is not going to be your best day, though. So he pulls out his box, and in his box is all the beautiful things that God had planned for his life, and the ones that had not actually come to fruition because he, at many points in his life, had not walked in sync with the Holy Spirit. And the guy's like, oh my gosh. And that makes me think about the fact that there is so much potential in each of our lives that is untapped when I'm not in sync with the Holy Spirit. And
that's good. Well, perfect way to end.
Yeah.
So get in sync, be committed to finish strong. This is the Todd Boffo Show. I so thank you for tuning in. We look forward to seeing you on the next episode.